What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode. It's going to be a really fun, different one, too. We're going to do, today is the question and answer episode. We've got, I forget the exact number. It's over 30 questions we got submitted just in the past week or two when we asked. And so we're just going to rapid fire, go through them as quick as possible, try and answer everything. And yeah, we'll do that. But before that, we'll do a quick catch up. We're not going to show photos of our week. We'll do that next week. But Brad, we finally got our spot, dude. We got the view.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, I've been wanting this spot.
Oh, you got the view.
Yeah. It was so funny.
Yeah,
We've been working at this,
Nice.
or staying at this campground just below this hill we're on right now. And
Okay.
it's fine. Like, you can walk out and see the Tetons right there, but it's more of an established campground. It's still free in the national park, which is nice. But, it's just like
Okay,
spots
nice.
laid up next to each other. So you're always next to other people.
Yep.
And then the first time we got there, we started to almost drive up this one road, but it said 4-wheel drive recommended. So we're like, maybe let's not take the chance, you know? So
yeah.
we stayed low. Well, then one of the days I rode my bike and I actually ended up going up this dirt road to find a trail that went down. And so I rode up the whole damn road. And as I did it, I was like, oh, our van will handle this no problem. I could tell like it was fine.
Yeah.
So I think the conditions of the road just changed based on the time of year and how much it's been raining and mud and stuff like that.
Could be.
So it could be you could see the potential for it being really bad, but right now it's fine. And then I saw this spot, dude. I rode by it. It was empty. I was like, oh my gosh, dude. It's like, I mean, we're elevated up and you can see a little bit of the mountain range here, but if you look directly behind,
Yeah, I can.
we're staring out the Teton range. Like the Grand Teton is
Oh,
right out the back here.
nice.
And it's a private spot tucked
Yep.
back here, all by ourselves. Nobody else here.
No.
Firing right
nice.
out here. And like, dude, the Tetons are just right there. I mean, just the perfect view of them, right?
Oh, that's crazy cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So a couple
That's
days later, we
awesome.
drive up to try and get it, and it was taken. And so then a couple days later,
Oh,
we
no
drive
way.
by, and we thought we were going to get it on this one day. We come back up, and then there was two people just pulling in. I'm like, we missed it because we were like out on a hike, you know? And so I walked up to him. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, when you guys leaving? And they were like, we're leaving Thursday morning. So, dude, we ended up at this other spot up the hill further, which was really nice and private, but had no
Yep.
view. So this morning I woke up first thing and I just chucked the drone up. And I used that to spy and see when they would leave. I was totally doing the creepy drone
that's
spy
too
thing.
funny.
I mean, I stayed really high.
Hilarious.
But I was like, I'm not
Yeah,
walking
yeah.
all the way down this hill because it's probably like, I don't know, roughly
Yeah.
a mile, like winding downhill, and then you got to hoof it back up.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah,
all
yeah.
cold out this morning. So yeah, I did that and I saw that they were still there. I'm like,
Oh,
all right,
that's too
made
funny.
breakfast and then flew it right after that. Saw the spot was open. We threw all the stuff in the van, drove down here and snagged it.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's
Yeah.
too funny.
So now we got it.
That's good.
And what's cool is like
Yeah. Yeah.
we set up a tent out here because we have this small pop-up tent that we never
Yeah.
use, but there's some campsites that say
Okay.
tent only. And so we bought it for that. So
Oh.
we can just say, all right, we'll throw a tent out there and they won't know we're sleeping in
Throw
the
it
van,
out.
right? But for this, it's
Yep.
perfect because you can put the tent out there, kind of claim the spot. So that way when we leave to go and do, some hikes and rides or whatever, it's kind of ours until we come back, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. I can imagine the amount of people do stuff like that with drones, like that want to see a specific area, like just fly it over, like scan a
dude,
spot, look at a certain thing.
it was
Why
the
not?
easiest thing.
Saves you from
know?
walking.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I didn't feel creepy at all, dude.
That's too
All I
funny.
was looking for was like a truck that was
No,
parked
you're
here.
far
I was
off.
like
Yeah,
way
yeah,
off.
yeah.
Because
Exactly.
honestly, I do sort of pay attention to that kind of thing. Like if you're in a busy area, I won't even fly my drone just because of the sound. Like it's
Yeah.
just annoying, you know?
True. It is.
And
yeah.
so I won't
Yeah,
do that. So we
definitely.
didn't have anybody. We had a private spot. And as soon as I sent it up, I went really high and then just like went out. And it took like 2 minutes to fly it over and see if the spot was open. And I'm like, hell yeah. You know, it
Oh,
worked out
that's
so
too
good.
funny.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're happy because we got our
That's
view for
good,
the
man.
next. We can only stay here 5 days. That's the limit, and then we got to like go somewhere else. But still, that'll be nice.
Okay,
For
well, that's not bad
Nah.
though.
yeah, it'll be really cool.
Yeah. Good for a
That's
change.
what we've been up to.
That's awesome,
Chasing
dude.
spots.
Chasing spots, yeah. So nothing's really. I mean, you've had a couple of encounters that were.
I
that were
did,
really
yeah,
good,
yeah.
but
The Tetons have just been like a
photography-wise?
little not what I expected. I'll say that, and we'll talk about it more next week when we actually do a
Okay.
little bit more catch up.
Yeah.
But I can just say real quick,
Yeah.
It's not as easy as I thought it was going to be based on past national parks I've been in and subject acclimation. Like usually most subjects don't care about people because they're always so busy.
Yep.
And that's kind of not been the case here. But we did a hike the other day that actually turned up some stuff and had some decent encounter with some moose. Emily was on point, dude. Yep. She was finding stuff left and right, man. I walked right by this moose and calf, and they were like right there in the most beautiful sunrise light, dude. I just walked right by it, and Emily's like, "Hey, moose!"
No way.
I'm like, "Where?" And I'm thinking she's talking about way out there, and she was like, "No, they're like right there."
Yeah.
You know, and
right there.
Yeah,
like you stepped over them.
Pretty much, almost, dude. It was that close.
Oh, that's too funny.
So got some shots of those, and then ended up finding some pika, which were cooperative and cool. Which those things are always so fun, man. They're so adorable. And then what else did we have that day? It was like a really good mammal morning. So we had the moose, the pika, marmot. Cool. I'm trying to think what else we had.
Porcupine, didn't you? Because I think I did see something
Emily
about
found
a porcupine.
The porcupine. And then there was one other thing. I don't know. We actually had 6 mammals that morning. I can't remember what the other 2 were off the top of my head.
No way.
Yeah. 6 different mammal species in one morning.
Which is unusual,
right? Oh, red squirrel was another one.
Not a common thing for.
And then still no bears. Haven't seen a bear since we've been here. So hoping that might turn up soon. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I talked to a local here that I know who lives here, and he said the same thing. He was like, "Man, it's a weird year. It's a really slow start." He said he went up to Yellowstone. He was like, it's way better up there for wildlife than it is down here right now. But
really?
I said, you know what? It's beautiful here. I love it. I'm just going to try and figure it out and just stay. And and then hopefully it kind of keeps getting better, as time goes on. So
yeah,
So
certainly.
that's
cool.
What's your quick update?
Cool. Just that new spot, man. That
nice.
one pond. Oh, what a morning that was, dude. Like just the perfect conditions and just everything lined up so well. I'm so stoked about this spot to hit it a few more times and try some things. But it was just great, man. Just like all the other areas, there's some, shy subjects mixed in the more common stuff.
Gotcha.
Whereas this one is definitely these guys are the skittish kind of ducks.
Yeah.
So to play with them, and then it's given me ability to do compositions that I haven't done before, wider stuff, show the scenery a bit more, play with reflections a little bit more and stuff. So it's just been fantastic. I'm already, if I don't ever get a chance to shoot there again, I'm fine.
Nice.
I'm definitely going to go back, but just came away with some really killer stuff that I'm super happy with. And, got a chance to see the Bitterin. Didn't get a chance to go back yet to work there. We just had some really not great weather. It's been super windy and stuff. And
gotcha.
With a shy bird like that too, I'm like, this ain't going to work. I was going to go out this morning. It was 60K winds. I'm like, this thing is going to be so tucked away. Or it's going to be on edge already because everything's moving around.
Yeah.
So, but it's been good. Been a bit slow. I'm having this trying to hold back my anxiety with the warblers and the songbirds because I haven't been going as hard. And I'm even outside my house, I'm hearing the black and white warbler, and I haven't really gone for any of those yet. Wow. But anyways, dude, I'm supposed to be going to Terranceville tomorrow.
Oh.
And I'm it's crap weather the whole week.
Really?
Or the whole weekend we're there. I'm are you serious? This is usually my spot. This is where I'll just bang out all the images that I normally get or the species that I want. So it'll be interesting.
Maybe the challenge this year, dude, is go out in the weather you normally wouldn't go for and just see what you can make happen.
And that's what I'm going to do.
Just see what happens.
Because it's supposed to rain.
Even if it doesn't work out.
Saturday is supposed to be heavier rain.
Right?
Yeah. Yep, definitely.
And maybe something
actually,
different works out.
Well, I'm actually thinking of hitting there's a couple areas that in my mind, I'm ooh, there's probably Bitterin in these locations too. And I've just never, I've driven past and never ever looked. So I'm why don't I focus on different subjects? Even just gather more knowledge about that particular location for even next year.
Exactly.
Even if it's a total dud, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to go out in the rain, try them in the rain.
Nice,
It's always nice to get shots.
It is. I
in the
know.
rain too.
I actually
so,
really like,
yeah.
that's one of the few times where I really like getting the closer shots of them if they're perched on something
Yeah.
cool, because you see the water drops on everything, and all the perches and leaves and everything just looks so incredible. So yeah.
It does.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Good stuff, man. All right. So
Yeah.
shall we get into some questions?
Let's go.
All right, let's do it.
It's gonna be fun.
For some of these, we do have some images that we set aside that we think we'll reference. For some, I might be able to just look up something really quick in my Lightroom catalog here. We're going to do a little bit of bouncing back and forth. We have a handful of questions that were just for me, some that were focused just for Brad. And so we'll knock those out first, and then we'll just kind of like back and forth between the questions that are left. Real quick, before we get into the questions, last little bit of normal stuff we got to do. A big thanks to Michael Dries for supporting the show. So he's been doing that for a couple weeks now, and so just wanted to make sure to give him a thanks on that. And for anybody else interested in supporting the show, just head on over to wildlifephotoChatVideo.com, and you can do that there. And we are super thankful and very grateful for everybody that has done that so far. It really means a lot to us, guys. So guys and girls. So thank you very much. All right. So first question here, and we're going to try as much as possible to bring up who asked it. I love this username, the bearded balding eagle. Matt Lucas asked me, when operating tours, do you almost always find wildlife? What do you offer if you don't? So, yeah, I mean, I can't think of a time I've ever not found wildlife. And Matt, so much of it for me goes into the scouting ahead of time. And that's what it's all about. It's like, I honestly thought I was going to come here to the Tetons and maybe, scout out and set up for a potential workshop for next year. Unless something drastic changes in the next 2 weeks that I'm here, that's not happening, because I don't know. I mean, there's people that run spring tours here. I don't know how they do it. Probably just because they live here and they've really figured it out. I haven't been able to figure it out enough to hit the threshold for me. Like, I have a threshold of, listen, it's wildlife. You're never 100% sure, but I can hit a high percentage confidence for myself that I can find something and deliver some good experiences and photography opportunities for people out there that are going to work with me. So,
Definitely.
Has wildlife not cooperated the way we want? That happens a lot. Sure. Brad and I had an experience with that,
Definitely.
It's not that the birds weren't there,
definitely.
but they didn't go where we wanted, where we expected to normally get the quality of photos we want. So that happens, but then you pivot and you switch it up and you work with what you have, or you try for something different. And, I've got enough experience that I can usually find something, and so I don't offer anything if it doesn't happen. And I think another big part of it, I'll add, and then I'll let you speak, Brad, is setting expectations to your clients. If it is something that's going to be a little bit lower odds or more challenging to get the shots, then I just make that very, very clear up front and say, listen, like, I'd love for you to come try this with me, but here's the deal. If it doesn't feel like it's going to be a pretty close to guaranteed option for me, I'm going to let them know that. And then let them make an educated decision if they want to take that gamble or not. And then when they come and if it doesn't work out, they knew ahead of time,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and I was just going to mention, I said, like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think for many of the workshops, even including ours, is like you have your primary subjects that you're almost like, you'll say they're your guarantee.
Yeah.
But then you always have like fallbacks. So you'll
sure.
have things that you'll go and kind of research a bit and kind of get a good understanding of where they possibly are. So if these main subjects aren't working out, light's not great or something like that, or conditions aren't working out, you pivot to this other thing.
Yeah. And
usually that's listed and saying like, okay, we may see these as well.
Totally.
And that's kind of like your fallback. So
yeah,
I'd be amazed if many other people are running workshops aren't doing the same thing, or like to really just focus on the one and only that and not have any other fallback. Yeah, That'd be risky. I think.
I did that when I was doing local stuff when I lived in New Jersey, and it was just like a 2 or 3 hour morning, right? We're going out for a couple hours. We're targeting this species.
Okay.
And it was a cheap workshop, right? I think I was charging like $250, $350, you know, for a morning.
Okay.
So not a big cost. And at that time, I did have sort of a like, hey, if we don't find our target, then you don't pay kind of guarantee. I mean, I think I offered that to somebody maybe once or twice ever in my entire career of doing this. And even I think when I did, they were like, no, listen, it's fine. Like, I'm happy with what we got, even though we didn't get our target. Like, they got it. They understood. And, but like these big workshops I do right now, there's no, I mean, I'm not giving money back, you know, like it's wildlife. That's the nature of it. And I've put in my time and research to know, like, we're going to find something and have a good time either way. Just like you said, dude.
Yep.
Yeah. So
definitely.
So that's a great question. All right. So, do you have the questions up, Brad? Do you want to read the questions for you, or do you want me to read them?
I don't. I can probably.
All right. Well, I'll get this one for you if you want to get maybe set up for the next one. So, Liam Corcoran, I think is how you say the name there. He, and I put this in Brad's section because, I mean, it's a question to either of us, but this one goes to Brad. What advice do you have for someone who will only go out looking for perfect golden light? And I gave that to Brad because, you know, everybody knows.
Prepare to haul your hair out. I think, and one thing I guess my biggest lesson I've learned over the years is location. Like, getting to know your location. I think there's, you know, obviously certain locations are going to provide that first few minutes of light, whereas other potential places, the light may get blocked until like a half an hour after. So I think Ray, actually, since you are jumping to this, if you just go to the floating pad image. So this is like one of my favorite lakes that I go to, and I go here for waterfowl and shorebirds. It's very shallow in this one particular spot, but what I love about this lake is like the sunrise is just above that hill. It's so far back that, I mean, within maybe 2 minutes of actual sunrise, I mean, I'm obviously not seeing the full horizon here. I've got golden light.
Yep.
Right? So then if you pivot to the next image, Ray, here's another spot, float pad set up. The best spot I've ever done buffalo head, there's no light. Yeah. So if you look to the left here in this image, I've got a big hill. Behind me, another big hill. Sun is rising behind that hill.
Off to the left, you can see.
It takes it takes almost like
hour,
45
right?
minutes or more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking, even more into the hour. And then same with the other side. So where it's setting, it's the exact same thing. Yep. So you can't capitalize on light there. Like, you're not getting golden light. Yeah. So I think one of the that's probably the biggest takeaway I've ever learned is, like, you know, if you can't see it, you can't shoot it. So to me, it's getting to know a location that's going to provide that first bit of light. And then, you know, obviously you got to get to know your subjects. Where's your subjects hanging out? Are they hanging out in an area where you can capitalize that, shoot into it, or, you know, or is it going to light up your subjects with those first rays? So to me, that's one of the biggest things. And just repeat, go back to locations, see exactly where it hits. You know, I've pinpointed down locations I've gone so many times. Like, I can pick a rock or certain object or a certain tree that gets, like, even in October, like, I've got a couple birch trees at that one lake that I know when they get hit with light, the whole area where these ducks are coming through, it's now gold. Like, so, you know, getting to know those little nuances of a location, I think really play to kind of, you know, increase your chances, I guess.
That's such a great point, Brad, of the light doesn't necessarily have to hit your subject. You can still use golden light when it's hitting a background and something far away. You know, you can still bring it into play there. And I got to say, I love how Liam phrased this question. What advice do you have for someone who will only go out, not who wants to go out looking for perfect golden light, who will only go out, which is funny. So I think, you know, the only thing I would add on to that is I would say, maybe you're limiting yourself if you only go out in perfect golden light. like other light can have its advantages. There's other things. We were just talking about that in the beginning of this. Like you said, you're going to Terrenceville. The light, it's going to be crappy and rainy. And so if you said, screw it, the light's not going to be perfect, I'm not going to go out. Well, yeah, you're not going to get that golden light shot, but you might be missing out on some other incredible opportunity. And so I think opening your mind to those other opportunities is wise. And then the only other thing I wanted to add is, sure, I think there's nothing wrong with focusing on that amazing light, but if you have the time to stay out after or before it, go scout, and use.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, use your knowledge of understanding. Okay, and apps. I have like a sunrise app that'll show me exactly where the sun's going to be at sunrise, where I'm standing, and it'll show me like in the sky, like there, it's going to come up right there.
Yep.
And so that's super helpful for me to be standing in the middle of the day in a spot and go, all right, I'm seeing some subjects here. Where's the sun going to come up? When will I first see it? Over this hill or behind this set of trees or whatever. And then you can use that to go back when things are really good.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's a great point, because that was one thing I was going to mention, is to don't not go out, use it as field knowledge, get knowledge of the behaviors of whatever bird you're after, and see, like, does it actually go in the location? Like, is it hanging out in a spot where I can use light? Like Ray said, open up that app. Okay, it's pouring rain now, but if this was sun, okay, they do hang out in this particular area. So yeah,
totally.
Definitely don't not go out. Trust me, I've been there. Like I've missed out on many opportunities, and I've like not gone out. And I think after a while, like, you just put so much pressure on yourself for that golden light, like that. I even found days when I did have it, like if it was raining for a full week and then Saturday came and, oh man, it's going to be like the perfect light. I had so much pressure put on myself. I didn't enjoy the outing. I did not enjoy the outing. It was just chaos. I was just like just too much anxiety wrapped around, like, oh, I got to use this light. Oh my God, I can't find a bird.
Yeah.
Now.
What if the bird's not in the right spot?
2 days ago.
Totally.
Yeah. Like it's just, you just set yourself up, I think, for a lot of frustration. Again, I love the golden light. I'm all about the light, but like, I think it's just, it's not healthy.
It's an unhealthy obsession it can turn into. Anyway, I just pulled this up. This is a beautiful example of golden light, man. Love this shot.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yep. Great question. Definitely. So thanks for that one, Liam.
Yeah,
all right. Yep. Let's see. Mark Knoll asks, what aspect of photography do even experienced mentorship students still struggle with? That's a great question, Mark. Which, by the way, I've been loving your like Urban Warbler series, this stuff, and like all this stuff. It's been really, really good.
Really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking back on that, this question kind of, I don't know if I have one answer. I think there's a few things, but I would say the biggest thing I go over with a lot of my mentorship students that are more experienced is sort of the struggle to stay motivated and not get in a funk about lack of growth and expectations being met and social media and growth there and everything. Like that is a conversation I have so much with a lot of my more experienced mentorship students. It becomes, honestly, it's not about the photography. It's just about the staying motivated in this space and not getting in a funk and getting stuck in that funk and getting out of the funk and understanding that happens to everybody. Yeah. Like that's a thing that happens a lot. I think the other struggle that people have is the stagnation of growth. And so in the beginning and even intermediate times, especially for people working with me, I'm giving them shortcuts. That's the whole point of the mentorship, right? It's not something that I really think most people are never going to figure out on their own. I really believe every photographer that I work with would get to the same point that I'm helping them get to on their own if given enough time and opportunity. But a lot of people don't have that time. And so they're paying me to help shortcut it, like I'm trying to get them there faster because I have a lot of experience doing this. That's really what this mentorship program is about for me. And so for a lot of them in the beginning, when they're newer or intermediate, I'm giving them tips and ideas and they're like, it's just light bulb after light bulb of, wow, I never thought of that. And they put it into practice and then boom, the growth, like it just gets better and better. And they can see the growth in their photography. And then they hit a point of where it plateaus And now it's like, yeah, I'm looking at my stuff from a year ago and I don't feel like I've gotten any better. And it's like, yeah, that's how this works. You know, like you get to a point of where it kind of flattens out your trajectory and it's harder to really have big jumps anymore. And that's okay. That's just how it goes. And so again, working through that struggle, is another thing. And I guess the last piece I'll say because the question was about more experienced mentorship students, and that is how to be completely unique and creative in this world. You know, we all look at so much stuff all the time on social media. There's so many amazing people out there doing amazing things all the time and sharing it all the time. If you are a person like, and Brad, I know you can speak to this. If you're somebody that doesn't get to travel and see a lot of new locations and you see all these people posting stuff all over the place and going to all these amazing locations, like that's hard. That's hard to kind of sit with and stay motivated in your own photography. But the reality is, and this is again, I think something that I've really been seeing from you, Brad, in the last few years, but especially this year, is it doesn't matter if you're going to the same place over and over and over again. There's still something new to be done. It's always there. There's always an option. There is something to figure out. And so that's the other thing I think that a lot of my mentorship students, the advanced ones, struggle with is how do I get creative when I've been doing this so long and shooting longer and I feel like I'm just shooting the same damn thing over and over again. Do you have anything you add to that, Brad?
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, like I said, I don't get the opportunity, you know, besides the workshop that you and I do, I don't do a ton of, you know, mentoring or anything like that. I don't do really any. But, you know, just someone with, you know, almost 20 years of experience, my own self, like I said, there is that struggle of like seeing other people and feeling like, you know, they're more creative than I am. Or like, you know, I even remember not too long ago, I look back at some of my old stuff and I'm like, geez, have I gotten worse? Like I feel like I shot better stuff before. But I think as an artist, I mean, I'll call us artists, you and I, Ray.
Absolutely.
I don't think we're not documentary kind of photographers. We're trying to create some type of an art form. I think there's a time when you plateau and then there's this experimental period.
Yes.
Where your photography or
worse.
your art may suffer, may suck, may like really look bad. But I think it's during that you're throwing everything at this like canvas, we'll call it. You know what I mean? And you're just trying to see what new thing works. Yeah. What's the new interest? Because the question always, you know, and I keep relaying it to myself. I feel like, oh, well, I want to get more creative. I'm like, yeah, but what is it I want? Like what is my goal here? Like, like, is there an end to this? Like, am I always going to be? And I think it's just exploring a new technique. Or, you know, look at a new lens and what kind of cool effect does that get? Or doing wider stuff. And do you like that for a little bit? Because guaranteed after a while, that's going to feel monotonous to you. And you're going to want to do something else. And that's what I mean. So I think you're always going to stay in this pool of like, what do I do next? What can I try next? I mean, eventually it may run out, but I think, you know, just enjoy the process of it. Don't get too discouraged and just know that when you do stay plateaued, you may have this phase where it's like, ugh, like things aren't working because you might be trying new things that you just might not like. Like there's moments when I play with this 100 to 400, like I had with the Ducks recently, loved it. Best lens in the entire world. Went out with the other day and I could have smashed it. Like I was like, this looks like crap. If I had my 500 now, like, this Canada J would have looked amazing on that perch, and I'm here stuck with like. So it's just, you know, it's just frustrations with that. But I think just go through the process, and it'll be good things. You're always learning. Yeah, you're always learning.
I think just real quick, I want to add. You just brought up something too, which is an important point I did want to make, which is I think, and this is part of what I find with these mentorship students that are struggling is trying to get back to finding the joy in this, you know, and not letting the pressures, the personal expectations, external expectations, social media expectations outweigh you having fun doing this. Because when you can find the fun in this, you can never fail. Every outing is a great time. And it kind of, in a way, I truly believe, at least based on my experience, it frees you up to actually get more creative and push further. And so I think just keeping that in mind, keep having fun with this is super helpful. All right. You got the next question there. You got it from Gary?
I do, yeah. Gary Harvey. He says, I live in Northern Virginia, so not too close to shorelines, lots of forest, and mostly without any decent view of a horizon. So, a lot of the time I am shooting songbirds in a forest. I love it when you guys talk about the field craft behind the photos you have made. There was a particular photo that Brad took that made me want to know how the heck he did that. He's an American tree creeper. It's actually a brown tree creeper, but it doesn't matter. With spectacular bokeh from the sunset sunset or sunrise. Those birds are rarely stationary for more than a few seconds, and I don't see any pattern in their movement beyond going up the tree they are on. Did he know that the bird was going to be there? Did he attract it there? So Ray's got the image up. So, yeah, so I'll go through the story of this. So I was out actually shooting other birds. I think I was like not wrapping up my session, but I was kind of making my way back to an area that I was going to kind of try other birds on the way out. The light was getting, I know it's ridiculous to say, but it felt harsher.
In the forest, it feels that way
fast. You're finding, yeah, because you're trying to find pockets, right? Because if you're too open, then everything does get a little bit harsh. Your highlights reflecting off certain surfaces do definitely get a little bit harsher. So anyways, as I was coming down, if I remember it correctly, there was a little bit of a slope. As I was walking back, I just so happened to hear the sound of this brown creeper.
Nice.
Like I heard that little subtle sound, and I was like, ooh, that's that high pitch. I'm like, oh, and I don't work with these birds very often. We do have a few around, but it's rare. So I think I even remember opening the app just to even do Merlin to be like, am I hearing this right? Anyways, so I did. So I spotted this bird. And so creepers, if anyone hasn't photographed them, with especially the brown creeper, so they'll fly in low and work their way up the tree. So this is what I was seeing. Bird was flying in low, up the tree, go to the next, up the tree. So it was just a, stack of really nice spruce trees that I could tell he was just probably going to go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. So what I did was I basically quickly went ahead of where he was going and just lined myself up. This is, like I said to Ray, pretty much almost the spot. I was a little bit more on this particular slope, so this is like the end of it when it came down. But as you can see, like the spruce trees in the back, like it's like, they're rows like that going. Yep. So you see the 4 different ones. And what I'm using is basically the sun was coming through, very similar day, probably not as harsh of light. And all this, I guess you call it undergrowth or secondary growth, like all this stuff underneath, as you can see, that's where the color was coming from. So it's basically the sun illuminating the back of that and just getting. So, I guess to answer his question, no, I didn't call the bird in. It was a very quick reaction. These birds are super quick. They don't, like you said, they don't stay still. Yep. But it was knowledge knowing that they're going to hit the bottom, they're going to work up. I knew where I needed to get. I wanted this where the light was basically hitting all that foliage in the background because I could see the colors. Like I could visually see that like all this looks amazing. And with the light lit up, this bird's going to be in shade. I'm going to get that perfect combo that I like. And it was just a matter of like, and Gary, like I have 2 frames, I think, that were used, that actually worked out good. Just so happened that this one just worked perfect. So, it was more of a reaction thing. But again, I was at that location so many times beforehand. Like, you're always gathering a little bits of information. So just knowing where I could place myself.
Sure.
And obviously I could see the light, but just knowing the place and how everything would kind of react and come together allowed me to get it.
You shot this backlit, right? Sun was behind the subject, glowing through the stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. So correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, but I'm guessing you were probably standing in the shadow of that tree trunk too. And that's something in the forest when I'm shooting backlit, I would do all the time. Because if not, number one, the sun's in your damn eyes and it's harder to see your subject, especially when the sun's stronger.
Oh, definitely.
And you tend to get way more lens flare. when the sun is shining in, when it's a little stronger like that. Early morning, when you have the sun in the frame, the lens flare can be beautiful. When it gets higher, it just kind of washes out everything. And this is completely clear. Like I can tell the lens is in the shadow of that tree trunk because you have no lens flare. It gives you more dynamic range in your photo, so you don't wash out your shadows. The colors are cleaner and crisper. And flat out, it's easier to see and track your subject that way. So it's the thing. I can't tell you how many people I've had out in the forest, and we're photographing warblers and songbirds, and we're trying to do something backlit, and they're just standing there like this, holding their hands up, like trying to block the sun. I'm like, come over here, stand in this tree. Like this is where you want to be, you know? So I wanted to bring that up too as a helpful tip.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, awesome.
Definitely.
All right, next one we got from Wander Tribe. Wander Tribe, accept my friend request. Come on. So Wander Tribe asked, what is the most challenging part of leading photo workshop? So keeping on that photo workshop thing, I would say there's two parts of it. Again, it's hard to come up with one thing for these answers, but one is honestly, especially on bigger group workshops, it's people management. That's the big challenge there. That's what a lot of these bigger group workshops become. Brad knows. It just is more about like making sure everybody has what they need, is getting what they want out of it, is getting along with everybody else, feels rested and feels considered, you know, like, so making sure we're giving enough attention to some people, because some people are just generally quieter than others. Other people have no problem speaking up when they need something. And so, that's kind of like, honestly, that becomes a big part of running a group workshop, is just people management, not even like completely not even connected to the photography side of it. The photography side of it though, I'll say the biggest thing is self-imposed pressure when things aren't working out. So when the subjects aren't going where you want, or when the conditions aren't the way you had hoped, and you have to maybe pivot and do something when it's not going easy, when you're by yourself and you're just out there shooting. For me, I generally don't have pressure on myself, and I have more patience. I can sit there and wait, right? It's easy for me to go, I'm going to sit here and wait for this shot to happen. I think it's going to happen, right? But when I got somebody paying me thousands of dollars sitting right next to me, it is really hard to say, hey, let's just sit here and hope this happens. Chill. Even though I know from all my experience, my instincts, everything is telling me, Ray, just stay here. But when I can see the birds are over there, it's so tempting to go, let's move over there. But I know what's probably going to happen every damn time is I'm going to go over there, and then the birds are going to be here, right? So kind of being able to quiet that that instinct, or in that moment, that struggle to just go chase stuff and just sit tight and do what I know is best. That's probably one of the hardest things for me to kind of fight through. And when it works out, it's so good. I love when I think, all right, I just got to sit here and wait. And I tell them, like, trust me, like, this is likely going to happen. And then it does. I'm like, oh, like, what a weight.
Pretty good.
Left off. And it's such a great teaching lesson, you know, of, sometimes this is what you got to do. Learn your subject and be patient. So those are the biggest things. And I think you would agree with the group dynamics, right?
Oh, definitely. And, you know, just like even I said, the waiting part, like we often, like you said, we got that pressure on ourselves, but like there's field craft to like staying, being patient, all that we forget about. It's like we want, you know, especially, you know, you visit these locations many times prior to, or you've had past workshops, and
past experiences,
what's potential. You've seen the light, or you've seen the amount of birds or whatever. So it's like to walk into it and be like, oh, okay, wait a minute, like what's happening? Okay, be patient. It's probably going to happen. We've done that with the puffin workshop. We're just like, sit down, it'll happen. They're going to come back. Like, don't you worry. And then all of a sudden it's like, bang, we told you, like. But we know the anxiety, or that probably the questioning that the clients may. And maybe they don't, but I think it's in our own heads that we're just like, yeah, they're probably like, what have we paid for? Right? But then it's like, oof. And then they're high-fiving, there's big smiles, and
it's funny, man. Yeah,
but the group.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the group, like dealing with the group dynamics. And I mean, everybody's an individual. Like that's one part.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember that when you asked me to help, you know, like to go through a workshop with you, and I was like, had so much pressure in my head of like, oh my God, do I even know how to use a camera? How am I going to teach someone else? Like, because it just felt like everything was just like secondhand to me.
Yeah.
I was just like worried about that. And then the first time we went, I was like, oh, there's so much more
barely
of the
part of it.
dealing with the person
Yeah.
part than the photography part is
Yep.
to a degree easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, just dealing with everyone's needs and make sure everyone's good and happy and, you know, not cold, not too hot, not too this, not like,
Yeah.
you know, they're there. You want them to have an amazing experience. So you're trying to make every bit of it as fun and enjoyable as possible.
Well, and it makes you realize, Brad, how much stuff we just naturally do over time with experience. We don't even question it and do it. I'm talking like the clothing we wear, the way we position ourselves, how we keep ourselves comfortable, all these little things that just never even cross your mind until you experience somebody struggling with that issue. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, sorry, I didn't tell you. Here's how I solve that. Because in your head, it doesn't even register. You just do it, you know? But then somebody that doesn't have the experience of shooting the way we are or the location we are or whatever it is, all of a sudden you start to realize you're like, man, there's so much more to this. And it's funny, both of these questions about running tours and mentoring students and stuff, the biggest challenges are always almost not really anything to do with the photography itself, you know? Like it's all the stuff surrounding it. You know, that's just kind of interesting how that works out. All right. So,
before you,
go ahead.
can I just pull up one image?
Yeah.
The one next to like my float thing. See where I'm like the lens is in a blind? No. Just go. Keep it there. Just go.
This one.
Keep going. No, that one. So I just want to throw, just to go back to like, as Gary was saying, like he's in it. And again, I don't know. Maybe he's got huge cliffs and he's not getting anything.
Virginia forests are very different.
Okay, because I was going to say, because like even in this particular location, like it's just so happened that this grouse used to come out onto this like particular rock
right there.
And it's just this sliver. Like, yeah, like if I went right or left of this area, like the trees were taller, like I wasn't seeing the light. I couldn't use them. It was getting blocked. But it just so happened there's this little small corridor that, you know, 5-10 minutes after sunrise, it was coming through this area. But literally, if I stepped to the right 4 feet, I wasn't seeing anything. So I'm just saying, like, not saying you know, again, I don't know the particular areas, but sometimes, you know, again, go into an area, get to know your location. There may be little pockets.
Yep, totally.
Where you can see the light, even if it's 20 minutes after sunrise, like, there's a nice cloud, you're still going to get some nice golden light half an hour after even.
Yep.
If you've got that thin kind of like wispy cloud. So anyways, I just wanted to show that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Gary, I've shot forests similar to what you're talking about quite often. And so, you know, one of the things I'll do is if the light is the utmost important to you, if you really want to get these shots like what you see Brad sharing, you know, like stuff that looks kind of like this, you got to chase the light first, not the birds. And so go to an outlook that's elevated up on top of the hill, the mountain, that is going to get the first sun.
Exactly.
Even if there's less birds there, even if it's not the subject you want, it doesn't matter, right? If you set your light and your location first and then work with any subject that's there, the photo's going to look different. It's going to look better, you know? Like, so that's the other thing I'll kind of add to that as well.
Yeah, great point.
All right. So next up, we've got Aaron Todd asking, who is your favorite duck photographer from Canada not named Brad James? So, Aaron, that's an easy one. Here, I'll bring it up. I think Aaron was maybe leading me in a direction, but I'll go with Tim Hopwood. He's a lovely Canadian. I had this set up. I think, Aaron, so you're amazing. You know, I just wanted to come up with somebody else to name, not you, because you brought this one up. But Tim is also amazing.
Tim is,
yes. So both of you guys, amazing waterfowl photographers for sure. Yeah. And thanks for that fun question. That one made me laugh, and I couldn't wait to answer somebody else on that one because I knew the expectation would be otherwise. Brad, you're up next.
No, what do I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah, I put a question in. When are you going to finally get a dry suit?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't see that.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
I know. Yeah.
Well, when everybody keeps
Keep
supporting the show,
keep those donations coming.
that's it. Keep them coming. Exactly. Yeah, that was my segue into that. You know what? I had another question that was in under for both of us, but the first one, it's another one from Gary. I think that would be a great one for you to answer, especially because he mentions you in the first. If you want to go ahead and take that one, and,
certainly. And just I wanted to just say something about the dry suit. I'm very much on the fence about it. Because of the I'm nervous to invest the money in because I know the style of stuff that I guess I could go back and forth between them. Yes. I'm nervous I'm going to just destroy this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was just in that river
rip it apart
with the dippers and like rushing water and like all over on the rocks and everything. And I was pretty good. You know what's funny though?
Okay.
I guess the super high speed water must push through the zipper a little bit because I did end up being like a little damp inside the dry suit, and I was like, oh no, I thought the same thing. I'm like, did I get a leak? But then I went and sat in the lake the next day with it, and it was totally fine. So I think it was just the fact that I had like crazy high pressure water hitting me for an hour, probably like found the weak spot,
Yeah, because like I do with the ruddy turnstones not far from my house here, and like I'm like basically cradling these rocks, like my legs wrapped around them, trying to hold on like I'm in the water. But then the problem with it is it's in the ocean, so a lot of these are covered in those like barnacles, those white. That's sharp. So it's like I think I rips up, and I'm like,
you might. There's spots again, you want to be careful. Yeah,
I could go between the two. Yeah,
absolutely.
I could go between the two things.
Yeah, no, I would totally say that.
Oh, you were saying.
Yeah, you had another one coming up from Gary Harvey. Gary isn't on social media, so we don't have a profile for him. But Gary, thanks again for following. He's been a great supporter and follower of the show for quite some time. So we thank you. So go ahead, Brad.
So he said a lot of Brad's photos show an exposure compensation adjustment. I don't think yours does, but it does. Is he shooting manual? I'm pretty sure that my R5 Mark II, when I'm in a manual, would not let him use exposure compensation. I'm a Canon shooter, so maybe the answer is obvious to Nikon shooters. So I think probably the issue you may be having, I don't shoot Canon, I don't do much with it, but I'm pretty sure probably your issue is when you're in manual mode, you have to be in auto ISO.
Correct.
In order to then have exposure compensation do anything. You can change it, but I'm not mistaken, if auto ISO is not on, it just doesn't do anything.
Nope, you are correct.
So this basically the way, so that's basically the way, I think Ray shoots like this as well.
I do. Yeah.
Maybe not always, but a good portion. So I set everything up in manual, and then I put auto ISO on. And then basically I'm using my exposure compensation to either brighten or darken my image. And it's just by taste. So depending on what I'm shooting into the light, like with this Canada J, like I'm exposing for those highlights in the background.
Yeah.
So, with this image, if you were to see it non-edited, my subject's darker. So I definitely had to lift the shadows and everything. So when I'm looking at this, I'm telling my camera, I want a negative exposure. So I'm probably down to like, at least one stop.
You're 167 here.
First
so
light.
1 2/3.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. You're right there. So, with this, it's not harsh light. This is very filtered light coming through spruce trees. First 5 minutes of light probably. So your exposure's not too bad. So I'm having to underexpose here. So that's basically how I use it. This is how I shoot 95% of the time.
Yeah.
If I'm in a scenario where I'm shooting like front lit, back lit, I'm moving around a bit more, I'll throw it into aperture priority. But usually I'm in manual mode, and I'm just basically auto ISO and an exposure comp.
Yeah. So Brad's totally right.
I think that's probably your only problem, Gary. Yeah.
Yep. Exposure compensation won't work when you're in full manual. So manual ISO, then it does nothing. You can change it like you said, Brad. And that's the case with all cameras. They all work that way. I shoot differently than Brad. When I do auto ISO and use my exposure compensation, I am pretty much exclusively doing aperture priority, almost all the time. So here's where I dropped in a negative one stop. So yeah, I just use aperture priority almost all the time. When I go into manual exposure mode, you can see on a lot of mine here that I don't use exposure compensation or auto ISO at all when I'm in manual mode. Every once in a while, I do the same. Like if my low end shutter speed is changing a lot, I'll switch to manual because I need to kind of just manage that, and it's a pain to do with aperture priority. But I use aperture priority with auto ISO, and just like you said, Brad, when the lighting conditions are changing a lot drastically, and then I just let the camera manage my shutter speed for me, and I just do the same exact thing that Brad was talking about, lighter or darker exposure comp as needed, and that's how we do it. So, yep. That's that question. All right, cool. So next up, we've got a photo from, or a question, I should say, from Asher Lee. Almost got to meet up with Asher. Schedules didn't work out. He lives out near the Great Salt Lake, so we chatted a bit trying to connect, but the days he could come out, I couldn't, and I had some work stuff to do, and so yeah, it didn't work out. But maybe next time, Asher, it'll be really cool to meet up. But anyway, he said,
I think you had him.
Yeah,
you had him on the podcast not long ago about that eagle shot, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That was really good. Yeah, it was a great conversation.
Yeah,
I enjoyed listening to that.
Yeah, it was a fun one. Yeah, so he asked, how do I get my photos into Immerse in the Wild? Hey, thanks for Immerse in the Wild plug. Yes, so I open up submissions every so often. So it's either I reach out and request to you directly, or every so often I'm opening up submissions. I did that about maybe a month ago. I opened it up for like maybe a week or 5 days, something like that. So Asher, just keep your eye out on my social media. I'll post when it's open again, or you may get a message from me at some point, so that's how it is. And I thank you for your interest in it. And for everybody not familiar, if you're watching new to the show here, this is a website that I curate currently that is all about viewing photos large. You can't view it on a mobile phone. You can only view it on larger screens. No algorithms, no nothing, just incredible photography there for you to enjoy on a large screen. So immerseinthewild.photo, check that out if you get a chance. So that's that one. I know, there's so much great stuff on there, dude. I love it. I have so much fun with it.
I do check it out every so often. Like I'll either see a reminder from you, or I'm just kind of like chilling in the office and I'm like, I just want some inspiration or whatever. And I go and look, man, it's so nice to get to view it in that kind of format, to move it on a big screen. And
it
just
looks
really
so different,
those
doesn't
types of images. It does. It's really nice, especially small and frame stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Certain photos really certainly are better, but everything just looks better that way too. So next question coming up, I'll just read this one real quick. This is from Rochelle Vance, wonderful mentorship student of mine. It's kind of just ties into what we just talked about, so I don't know that we need to add anything. She said, does Brad use auto ISO and exposure compensation? And she said the same thing. She saw the exposure compensation on the files, and can you talk us through how you set that up? I've had horrible results with auto ISO. I find that interesting, and she is not alone. I've worked with a lot of people that say, they're like, I throw on auto ISO and it just overexposes everything, or my ISO goes crazy, and I guess the only answer I have to that is it really is not much different than shooting full manual, other than it changes the settings faster, but you still got to pay attention to everything that's happening. You got to watch your shutter speed. If your shutter speed's high and your ISO is going to skyrocket if the light is low. And if it's looking too light or dark, you adjust it with exposure compensation. So you still have to do some changes, but I do really find in certain circumstances, when things are changing, it's just faster to let the camera do it for you. Like you said, Brad, when you set it up, if you're dialing in negative whatever, let's say negative a stop, and then the bird moves a little left or right, well, it's going to keep giving you that negative stop all the time. Whereas if you were in full manual, if it bounced over to the right and all of a sudden it was in a brighter spot, you're no longer shooting a stop under. You're shooting probably right where you should be, like neutral. And then if it jumps into a darker spot, it's all of a sudden too dark because you're dialed in manual. So you got to change those settings. So I feel like when you're doing full manual shooting, especially in the forest, I will say that, you're like constantly fiddling with your settings. Whereas exposure compensation, it can handle keeping you a stop under no matter what you're pointing at. And usually that's more helpful. It's just like less stuff to adjust. Wouldn't you say the same?
Definitely. Yeah, I would. And I think like, because when I saw the question, I was like, I've heard the same thing before. People, complain about the same thing. Is that like, it gives way too high, let's say, of an ISO and made the image too bright. Like the only times I've seen it is if I'm doing a quick transition, or like if I've got a subject, I'm shooting it back, like even that creeper. And like you said, you're tucked behind a tree. And then if I moved out from the tree and all of a sudden this blast of light flared in, if I was shooting, the camera for that second or for that little bit, it might give me some weird ISO or something. But it's like a frame, maybe two, and then it adjusts. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's very rare that I look and go, oh, that's weird. Why did it give me that?
Yeah.
The other one thing I love too about with the auto ISO on is that it'll give you those weird increments.
Yes.
So instead of it fully going to like, whatever, it'll give you like 720 ISO or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it won't do these full adjustments. It's almost like incremental adjustments. So, sometimes you get a little bit of a cleaner image out of it.
Yeah.
But again, I'd be very curious to work with some of the individuals that have mentioned that it's really bad, just to see if it's, something that could be fixed on their end about how they're actually playing with the settings a bit, because I've been shooting this way for 10 years. I don't know.
I've been doing
it
since the beginning.
Auto ISO was out there. Like,
yep.
It's been a long time, and I haven't looked back, and I mean, I don't have any issues at all.
Yeah, and I totally understand. By the way, before I just got to say it, like, wow, like God, the light on that flamingo is really nice, Rochelle.
Right?
Yeah, that's nice. Cool. And I love the light on that one too. Like that softer light is really
very simple.
Colors are popping.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem for a lot of people is just that it's different. If you're fully used to just shooting full manual and then you throw it in auto ISO, like it bounces around a lot. Like every little thing you point at changes, and so you just kind of have to be ready for that and understand it. So there is a learning curve there. But for me, there's totally times where, I'm out shooting, out in a big open space where the light is consistent and nothing is changing, and my subject's sitting there. I'm like, well, why don't I just go full manual and just dial it in? I just want my exposure to stay there, no matter how I compose the image, especially when I get into the smaller and frame stuff, because compositional changes can make a big difference. If I add a lot of dark foreground, then auto ISO would change it, versus a bright sky, then auto ISO would change it. So sometimes just fully committing to manual and dialing in every setting can be beneficial. I totally have experiences with that, which is why I kind of bounce back and forth. I'm about 50% one way and 50% the other way. But I've been shooting side by side with you, dude, and like we're shooting birds in flight, flying in front of stuff. In my experience, for what I'm trying to do, full manual is perfectly the way to go, and you're killing it with auto ISO. So it really is just a matter of what works for you. And if you're a shooter that's like doing great with full manual and you're not having any issues, I don't see a reason to change. Like, just stick with it with whatever works. But I think both Brad and I can agree that when you're in quickly changing lighting conditions, auto ISO is a huge help, especially with like the stuff we shoot a lot. You're shooting into the sun, like reflected sun on the water. Bird is swimming into it. Light is amazing right up to that. And then all of a sudden it hits that beam of light. The exposure changes so unbelievably dramatically there. And that's where I love the aperture priority, because it'll skyrocket. It'll drop my ISO to 100 and then skyrocket my shutter speed automatically without me doing anything. I just keep shooting. And then the bird comes out the other side, and now boom, I'm back to a normal shutter speed. My ISO is back to reasonable, and I'm still taking the shots, and I didn't have to change anything. I just tracked and shot it through there. So there's totally times where I think there's no way you could like spin the wheels fast enough to dial it in,
Not a chance.
Yeah.
No, not a chance.
Yeah. All right, next up, we got Gary Harvey again. Gary, thanks for all the questions. Do you guys ever use callback? Gary, we've talked about it. Yes, we both do. We use it sparingly. We use it mostly for songbird photography. I've used it for waterfowl occasionally. So the answer is yes. And the key to both of us is to use it sparingly and to recognize when you're disturbing your subject. And if you are, stop. You know, doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that?
Yep. No.
Right.
Like I said, I think we even had a full episode pretty much talking about it. But yeah, just learn your subjects and their behaviors.
Yes.
When it comes to that.
You want to read the next question? Daniel Gomez there. Do you got that handy, Brad?
Daniel Gomez. Yeah. What is the one piece of advice you tell both your younger self and beginner photographer self? So for me, again, and this might be like a theme for me throughout with some of these questions, location. I think we just get so focused on subject. Obviously, your subject's got to be in that location, but I think just spending time at a location just can elevate your photography greatly. Whether that's something where you're photographing waterfowl, like can you get close, to the shoreline? Can you get in? Can you get that low profile? Where are they hanging out? Where do they like to hang out? Where's the light rising or setting, depending when you're going? Like what kind of foliage is around? You're going to be able to do wider shots, tighter shots. And that kind of goes across the board with all of them, with the different shorebirds and everything. But I think learning your location and the way the light behaves in that particular spot can certainly elevate. Because, I mean, if you look at a lot of people's photography that have incredible images, a lot of times it's the lighting.
Yeah.
It's the way the lighting is playing within that spot and what that environment kind of gives you. So I think for me, it's just all about location. So if I was to tell myself, it'd be like, slow down, study the different places that you have around you, and then you'll find subjects. Because, you and I've talked about it. A common bird in incredible light or an incredible scenery, like a mallard is a mallard is a mallard, but you get a mallard in front of like epic snow-capped mountains.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, it's like an epic shot.
Yeah.
But it's the location.
Yeah.
So, you take that same mallard and throw it in an area that's full of lily pad and doesn't look nice and is dirty background, like you can't get separation, then it's not as great of an image. So
totally.
Yeah, I think scouting your locations is key.
Yeah, that's a great answer, man. Daniel, incredible gallery, dude. Loving this stuff. Like just beautiful photography.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it would be, especially for the beginner, like the young beginner me, would be stop lusting after the gear. Just who cares? Just learn your field craft. Kind of tying into the same, right? Like learning your field craft, both with your subjects and, lighting and location for photography will make so much more of a difference than gear. I've said this before, I have every lens imaginable that I could want in this cabinet right here. But lately I've been having the most fun with one of the cheapest lenses I own. A 28 to 400. Right. It's like basically the equivalent of like a kit lens, but so, and we've had this discussion countless times. So many other people online, other photographers have shared the same sentiment, which is, gear matters. It's not that it doesn't, but it doesn't matter as much as we all think. And so if you can let that idea of, oh, I can't afford this lens, or I wish I had this lens, or I wish I could go to where so-and-so, the photographer I admire, gets to go to all the time. And, if you can let go of those excuses for why you're not growing with your photography and just get out in the field more and just learn more about your subjects and experiment more, your photography will grow much faster that way and in ways that you like, versus just going, well, I can only do so much because I don't have this lens or this camera or whatever. Because I'm telling you guys, everybody listening, especially if you're a beginner, if you're a younger photographer right now, the absolute cheapest mirrorless camera you can get from Canon, Nikon, or Sony, and their cheapest 300 millimeter lens or higher blows away a $20,000 kit from 15 years ago. Blows it away. It's not even close. Like the quality and speed and color and low light capability of these cameras now, the entry level stuff is all better than what we were doing at the top level of technology 15 years ago. So, that says a lot. And amazing images were made back then, so that's what I would say. But that's a great question. Yeah. Exactly. I like that one, Daniel.
It is. Yeah. definitely.
All right, let's see. I know we have a lot from Chathra. And so the first question here is, he says, misty conditions are great, but the dynamic range shrinks and is so hard to edit. Any tips? Yes. So we've got some photos to show here. Look, perfect segue. I just happened to leave off on one of them. My best advice when you have like misty, foggy conditions, go small in frame. This is not the time and place to shoot portraits. You're totally right, Chathra. The quality suffers, the sharpness suffers, your ISO goes up, the colors diminish, everything looks like crap as a portrait when you're shooting in really messy, foggy conditions. But start going small in frame, showing off the habitat and everything around it, and guess what? Those foggy, misty conditions look amazing. So that's my advice for it. As far as editing, I don't really do a whole hell of a lot. Maybe I'll add some contrast on my subject selectively versus the rest of the scene. Especially in stuff like this, like for sure, I selected that loon and just add a little contrast, like darken the blacks to make him pop out of the scene. Because if not, to try and add contrast to the whole scene, it kills the effect of the fog on the rest of it. And so that's not what I want. I want the rest of it to look foggy and then just my subject to sort of stand out of there. So that's my advice. Do you have anything else to add, Brad?
No, I didn't, and I guess I was kind of like wondering, was he talking more about the quality than like the dynamic range? Like, I guess when I'm thinking of dynamic range, like I'm thinking of like super contrasty, like light coming in where you're gonna have big shadows and big bright highlights. Like I was thinking, and I thought that's kind of what he meant, was that the quality of it, and it's true. Like those type of scenarios with the mist, like show it off. Like don't go portrait, or like, if you do, it needs to be like super tight so that there's
real close.
Like you're not shooting through that atmosphere. Because that's the problem. When we're shooting through this misty atmosphere, it's like almost like adding a ton of noise into an image. Like there's just all those particles. So getting anything with quality, it's tough. So then it's just, don't be overly concerned about the quality, I guess, of shooting through, you know what I mean? Like don't be counting feathers with that kind of stuff, those conditions. Yeah,
you brought up a great point. This was complete socked in fog, dude. It was super foggy, but this redhead swam in so damn close. All I did was add a little bit of dehaze into it. In fact, I could probably just find the raw file here real quick just so you can see sort of how flat it was. So there's straight out of camera, right? Hit it with a little dehaze and contrast. So I did like plus 15 on dehaze and then dropped my black slider to negative 67. So a lot of darkening. Watch, like without it, that's what it looks like. Drop that black slider to negative 67, pulls in all the contrast. And so I was close enough to be able to pull out the details on this bird from a shot that looked pretty darn flat to begin with. But this was like frame fillingly close. I was right on top of him. So that's what mattered there. So let's get back to the gallery here. All right, cool. Awesome. So great question there. Do you want to grab one of the next ones there, Brad?
I'm like lost here now. Where are we to?
We got Teddy Moreau from about the...
Teddy Moreau.
You got that one? All right, I'll bring him up.
Second to wildlife, what is your favorite genre of photography? So Teddy, I wish I could go back to this. I can't find time to do it. 'Cause I was even saying to Ray before we came on, so when I moved back to Newfoundland in 2010, like my goal was to photograph like nature. Like I wanted to photograph all the different wildlife here, and that was going to be the thing, and show them off. And as I knew there weren't many photographers here at the time, that's since changed quite a bit. But I quickly just got immersed in the beauty of Newfoundland and what it has to offer, the ruggedness, the waterfalls. See, I'm addicted to waterfowl.
Dude,
I'm even saying it when I'm talking about waterfowl.
That was so good.
So so for the first, it's funny for me to look back the first couple of years that I moved back here. This is what I did. I chased landscape. I chased shooting our different lighthouses, waterfalls, the coastline. I was just taken up with how grand the big scenes are and stuff that, but again, you can do both. To do both very, very well takes time. Takes a lot of time in the field. in any genre of photography, light is huge. You can't be at a waterfall like in great lighting conditions and then be shooting some songbird as well. Like it's tough to do both. So unfortunately that side for me is dropped off dramatically, which I'm fine with. I may go back to it one day. I get older and slower and want to slow things down,
totally.
But I love it. I felt like I was decent at it.
Hell yeah.
So
These are gorgeous,
I would
dude.
like to go back. So thanks, man. Yeah. So yeah, that used to be my passion for sure.
Nice, man. Yeah.
You?
For me, I would say it's probably like a combo of still portrait stuff, especially just doing that with Emily lately in these amazing landscapes we've been.
Yeah.
Like that's been really fun bringing that back, because like when I left portrait photography and wedding photography, I was just so done. I was just so burnt out. I'd done it for 20 years and like just had enough of it. But now being able to bring that back in a low pressure, non-work way, it's been really fun. It's been fun watching her learn and explore. It's been fun taking photos of her. And so I would say that, or like a combination of like sort of that architecture street kind of photography that I've been doing with like I did with the urban stuff, with the urban wildlife, but like the tie in there. Yep. So I don't really have any desire to do that stuff on its own, but if I can put birds and wildlife mixed in with it, I love that. I love that. And again, I think that ties back to when I worked for an architect photographer for 8 years. You know, I got an eye for, you know, how that stuff is shot and the graphic nature of it and the lines and how interesting it can look. And I love combining that with the wildlife now, with the storytelling aspect of how they survive in our urban landscapes. So it's certainly something I want to do more. It's what we talked about on the episode where I shared that stuff. It's so hard to be in a place like this and think to myself, oh, I'm going to go drive into a city to do photography, you know, because it's just so much nicer being out in these natural places. So that for me makes it tough there. But that's a great question. Yeah.
Certainly.
All right, let's see.
Really.
Next up, we've got the bird herder here. So, reflecting on your own stuff, what one photo you've posted that makes you cringe, but you think added to your style and approach today? That's a tough one.
It's very hard, dude. I
couldn't think of one.
I couldn't either. I really couldn't.
No.
And it's almost like it sounded, because I'm like, I'm going to sound like, I loved every image, I think, but I couldn't think of one that kind of like catapulted me into a certain way that I shoot now, right? Because I guess that's kind of what, you know, or added to your style.
Yeah, and so
I really couldn't think.
I don't have an answer either. Matthew, I'd love shoot us a message. I'd love to hear your version of that, because I assume you have a version of that based on you coming up with that question.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back, like I can show you this, you know, I can look back on, this is my Lightroom catalog from when I started. And so I have every photo here that I've shared online. And so if I scroll all the way back to the beginning here, there's some horrible stuff, you know, like it's just mediocre. This is back to 2008, right? Shooting with my longest lens then, a 70-200, you know. Look at that shorebird photo. I mean, just crushing it, right? But and here's the funny part. You ready? Like, this was what I deemed at the time worthy of sharing. This is what I like set aside, edited, and shared, you know. That's where I was at 2008. But this doesn't make me cringe. This just makes me go, yeah, that's where we all started. This is what I think about that. Like, yeah, I would never even point my camera at this now, let alone take a photo, let alone edit it, let alone share it. And so, you know, I mean, I can say that over and over again. It's kind of, you know, with all of this stuff, like just shooting these local subjects, but like, look how crooked that is. Like, insanity. This is how I shared it, all tipped over, like, like the lake is sliding down the mountain, you know?
Right.
And so just over and over again, I have, you know, examples here of stuff that at the time was my best shot that I was sharing on social media, which was Flickr at the time, right? That one's got a cool lineup of Sanderlings. There's something there, but the light's horrible. The background sucks. Like, why am I so high, you know?
But the idea was there, though. You could see
right?
the pieces coming together,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like the lineup. If you were a bit lower, if the light was nice, with that, like
Yeah.
you could see the idea.
Well, and what's funny too is like you can swing into where I started understanding. Oh, I'm learning like to get low here. You know what I mean? And this is what I'm talking about too. Like in the beginning, look, I'm on a 70-200 with a 1.4 teleconverter, so I'm shooting birds and wildlife at 280 millimeter. Let me tell you guys, I got really good at fieldcraft. I got really good at getting close at birds. When my max was, and then I upgraded at one point, there'll probably be a bunch of stuff in here, to a 300 f4 with a teleconverter. Not quite yet. I don't know when that happened. So let's see if I can find some of that stuff. But what's funny is, still 7200 for a while. Look at, oh my gosh, dude, look at this light. It's just so bad, right? And this is all stuff, to remind everybody, this is not just my catalog. This is the catalog of stuff I've shared. Okay?
That you shared.
I shared all these. Yeah.
But I bet you were bird focused at that point.
Absolutely,
like a lot of times
dude.
I see this stuff and it's like, oh my God, it's a spoonbill. Get it. There was no thought of anything else.
Yeah.
But
No, absolutely.
Right?
No, I'm just trying to find it. Anyway, at some point I got a 300 f4 and then I used my teleconverter on that, right? And so I got more reach, but then I started realizing I started actually focusing on quality. And at the time, the Nikon gear, the teleconverter sucked on that particular lens. It was, most of my stuff was soft and out of focus. And so I went into a period of where I actually started ditching it, and I just was shooting at 300 millimeter flat, right? On a full frame camera, 300 millimeter, where at the time, pretty much every bird and wildlife photographer I knew was shooting a crop sensor camera. I had a full frame camera because I did portraits. That was my job, and it made way more sense for that. It fit into that, right? And that's why I had a 70-200 2.8, because I was doing portraits. That's what it worked for that stuff. So I went back to 300 millimeter, just shooting straight, and dude, I'm telling you, I got so good at getting close to birds, and that way when I did finally, eventually, years after it, get that 500 f4, I was killing it. I was so good at getting close to birds. It was like a piece of cake, dude. Like everything looked amazing. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean still, I went on a whole puffin trip shooting 280 millimeter. That was the longest focal length I had. I mean, this is like, what are we up to now here? 2010, so that's 2 years of me shooting a 70-200 with a 1.4 teleconverter on a full frame camera for birds. So, but my point is, and honestly, I got to say, that's not bad. Not the best light. I could edit it better, but that's not a bad shot. It can be done, right? So none of this stuff really makes me cringe. It makes me laugh that I thought it was good at the time, but that was my skill level then. That's really what that means, It doesn't mean that, like, I know so many people, dude, that, and I don't know, have you ever done this, Brad, that take photos off of their Instagram profile because they're like, oh, that photo sucks. I would never share that now, And I guess I get that if your Instagram is like your portfolio, then I think that makes sense. But for me, it's just a storyline of my history. And so I don't care if the old stuff is garbage. Like, that's my path, So
I think I've done it maybe once or twice where I've posted an image and like convinced myself it was like decent or good, posted it, and then it's like an hour after post, I'm like, I really don't like it. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
But I've never gone back, like way back down, and the first things I've posted, I'm like, now delete these. And to go back, like, I'm very critical of my own work. Like, I overanalyze. That's just my personality. My job is an analyst, a tech analyst. So like, I overthink everything. So something I post like 3 days ago, 2 days ago, I cringe at because I'm like, oh, I wish this was better, or I'm always like, I'm never, that's why I rarely have any images like even printed in my house or anything, because I know the minute I do, I'm going to be like, take it down. I don't like it anymore. Like, I'm super critical. But to Ray's point though, I don't think that there was an image I could pinpoint where I'm like cringed, but then like he was asking about, like, did it
changed your trajectory?
I guess down a path, down a style, or a way you approach things. I don't think.
I can't think of one either.
Not that I can.
It's also gradual.
Yes.
Yeah. It's all just so gradual.
Definitely.
So, But I do like the question. That was a fun conversation about it. All right, you ready for the next one, Brad?
I am, but I think you may have them listed different to me or something because you're jumping and more than what it is in
I'm
the
checking
notes.
some of them off and they're not moving in a weird way. So yeah, I'll hit this next one and then I think it should clean up after that. So we have Harris Clayton asks for the best floating blind to hike or walk with. So I haven't used it, but I know people that have, Harris, and the Mr. Jangear hide because it's inflatable. So I'll bring that up right here. It's this one. It's expensive, but it's just like inflatable inner tubes and packs down into a tiny, like a relatively tiny kit. I think that one's probably like a good lightweight one to go with. I know people that love it. Yeah, I think here's like a photo. Like there you go. Like there's your kit ready to go. You know, so you could take that to hike and walk with. But I don't have any experience with even any others, and I've never used this one myself. So. I don't know. Do you know of any, Brad?
Well, the only thing I was thinking of suggesting is, depending on what kind of body of water you're getting in, how much moving around you want to do, I consider a float pad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we did an episode where I kind of ran through how I made this thing. I walk a good distance with this sometimes. I can just hold it with one hand while carrying my massive Canon. The thing of 500 is so heavy.
Crazy. Yeah.
But I just carry both, and I'm able to do it because it's not. I mean, it's just basically made of foam and very very thin plywood, kind of squeezing it together, so it's not overly heavy. So if you're kind of doing something where you're not having to, you're not using the float pad to kind of hold your weight.
Yes.
I've done this many times. I just throw a throw over blind over me.
Totally.
And actually this is so much smaller. It's only 2 feet by 2 feet. So the actual, the size of this thing is a little bit more or a little less intimidating, I think, on the water. You don't stand out as much. So it could be something to consider.
Yeah.
But I don't use a float pad, so I don't have any experience with
the blinds. Yeah, the floating hides. Yeah. Yep. No, I agree.
Or the floating hide.
Yeah. Did it seem like the questions clean up? The next one I have on my list was from, I think Jonathan. Yeah. Do you want to go for that one? All right. I'll bring him up if you want to read it.
Yeah. What do you do when you feel like your wildlife photography is becoming stagnant?
That's a good one, John.
So it is. Yeah.
Go photograph a lynx like he does, I guess. Like that'll do it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's killer, man.
Yeah. Oh, especially that caribou too, man. What a
look at that sucker.
Jeez, that's a beast.
It is.
Wow.
I'm gonna go ahead and like that right now. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think switching up lenses can certainly kind of help things. Your approach is going to be quite different than if you're kind of doing things a little bit wider. You're thinking more about the scenes than the subject, or get like a fun, different type of lens that kind of creates a different style if you're into that. So like, Ray and I have both played around with that TT Artisan donut bokeh lens. That can be fun. Can be gimmicky for some of these things. So you kind of gotta, you might get bored of that pretty quick. But I think too, just switching up your location. I often get stagnated where I'm like, I love a location. I'm shooting it a ton. I'm getting amazing results. I continue to convince myself, like, why would I go anywhere else? And, then I come home from a probably excellent outing that I feel like I had fun, but to then look at the same images I've shot over and over and over. So I found this year I've explored a little bit more already. I'm hoping to do more of it. And it's like invigorated my photography. Like I'm so happy with this, new waterfowl place I got. I got different shots than I've ever had before. So it's kind of like, it's still waterfowl. It's still shooting in the type of light that I like, but it's just a different feel. It's just, I'm learning that location now. So I'm excited to go back. There's things that I noticed about that one particular outing that I'm like, ooh, well, what if I went here? Or what if I shot from this side? Or, oh, I can't wait to go back when it's these conditions, X, Y, and Z. So just switching up your location can make a difference. Or make a project. Ray's talked about this a bunch of times. Like take a certain subject, and maybe it's behavior that you haven't seen or you haven't had a chance to photograph, and go all in on that and do like one thing, like make a project for yourself. So that can be an option as well too.
Yeah, I love all those answers. Completely agree.
Right. You got anything?
Yeah, no, I was just going to add, I think that changing thing makes such a difference, you know? And I don't know if you're like me. I assume most people listening are somewhat similar to me. So much of what I really enjoy about this, and I just get excitement from, is like exploring a place I've never set foot in. There's just something interesting about that to me. There's something that brings me joy. It makes things more exciting to just walk into a forest, even if it's in the same thing. When I lived in New Jersey, even if it was walking in just another chunk of forest in southern New Jersey that I just never set foot in, it just feels fresh somehow, you know? Because for me, and I think a lot of people, when you find something photographically that works, it's so hard to not keep doing that because it works. It dialed in. It gave you a great shot, and it makes sense, right? Like, of course. And I think there's nothing wrong with doing that over and over again and iterating and trying different compositions and waiting for different conditions and behavior and all that. That all makes sense. But if you're feeling bored and stagnated, stop that. Stop going to your spots that work. Just go get ready to fail. That's the biggest thing, I think, is just allow yourself to fail and explore and then see what happens. Because when, like, you're going to fail, but then when you don't, and then you succeed in a new spot, it's all new. It's all fresh, and it feels that way. So that's my advice to add on to what you said.
Definitely. And just to add, like, I remember when we had talked about, it was a couple of years ago, we did a podcast one, and I was talking about trying to go to new locations, and, you know, there's this bit of anxiety about it. And like you said, like, get ready to fail, like, and it's okay to fail, and not every location's going to work out. But you had said something that always stuck with me. Is like, when you started off, you never went to any locations. You had to go to a location for the first time at one point to then search that location. So at one point we explored a lot, and we get stuck in our favorite areas that produce amazing stuff or have a ton of subjects. But at one point we didn't know about that location. We had to go explore it. So, like, you know,
there's more out
there.
That
enjoyment about it. There's more out there. And like I said, it's not easy. I still to this day get this like anxiety part about it. Like, you know, I even think of spots I haven't hit yet that I typically hit every year, and I'm trying to be like, who cares, man? Like, go do it next year then. Like, it's there next year. Like,
totally.
There's another spot out there, so keep going, right?
Well, because exactly what you said, Brad, and maybe you just said this and I missed it, but your favorite spot now was brand new at one point. So if you don't go keep exploring, you might never find your next favorite spot, because the next spot could be even better. You know, it might not be, and that's fine, but it could be. And if you don't explore, you're never going to find out.
Never going to know.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, man. Wetland Muse here, Andy. He says the same thing. What would your number one tip for dealing with photography creative burnout be? And so I think we basically just kind of answered that. Certainly a similar question there. And I get it. I understand why this question comes up, because this is a thing that a lot of people struggle with. So, all right, we got another one from Chathra. Your thoughts on Instagram? Do you want to get that one, Brad?
Yeah, your thoughts on Instagram as a wildlife photographer. Why not Flickr? Isn't it great? Anything else? Yeah, that's tough. I feel like we're all feeling that downward slope,
it's
especially
real bad
with Instagram. Yeah, I think even over the past couple of weeks, it's gotten even worse. And, you know, Ray and I've had, like, you know, private messages back and forth talking about this and seeing the struggles with it. And I mean, we definitely come from different angles. This is his business, livelihood, and, you know, for me, it's still pretty much just a hobby, just a side thing. So it's demotivating at times, especially with Instagram. Like, we're certainly not getting traction as we used to. Posts aren't getting viewed. It kind of makes you question, or I've questioned, like, why am I even posting anything? So it's definitely, I don't know that I even have an answer when it comes to that. Flickr for me is, I don't know. It just seems like such an old app that I never, like, maybe if there was a ton of people over on it, I'd consider going back to it. I mean, it was nice because you could view images a bit bigger and it certainly had its features. I never really had a complaint about it. I think it was just that Instagram and these other ones just seemed to take off more, and you had them on your phone and everything else. Like, it just was maybe easier or something, but it's hard to justify posting on there lately. Continue to do it, but sometimes, like I said, I'm not sure why, what the benefit is, but right.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It just, and again, I guess I haven't been on Flickr in a very, very long time. That's where I started. That was the first social media network, really, I would say. But I just don't know. I think the reason we all went to Instagram and enjoyed it is because you could grow an audience, like a huge audience.
Yeah.
And, we both have a huge audience there. And so the idea of starting over is overwhelming, starting to grow on another platform. I think a lot of people, I don't remember the name of it, but there was this one platform that came around that was supposed to be like the better Instagram. And it happened. They tried twice. There were these big campaigns. You'd see all these Instagram photographers saying, I'm going over there, I'm leaving there. And then it just died every time. Right. And the reason is there's not enough people there to keep it going, Flickr has continued, it's exchanged owners quite a few times. And it's great. The quality's there. I just don't know if the community is there. And I've heard some people say it is. So I think, sure, maybe there's that chance to connect with like-minded photographers and get that community that way. But for me, a lot of these social media platforms are still trying to grow an audience. And I don't know that you can get the same growth there, although it's just getting worse and worse on Instagram. So, it might be something worth trying. I think there's nothing wrong with it. The quality is there. Like, that's the great thing about Flickr, is the quality of the photos you can share are better. You can view them on a larger screen if you choose to, which is nice. You have that option. It's hard for me. I don't have enough time to do the stuff I'm doing right now. So to invest time in sharing and engaging in another platform is really tough. So until this one like fully, truly, really dies, I feel like I'm kind of stuck here work-wise. But yeah. And you know what? If it keeps going this direction, it probably will.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I think it's getting that way. Wasn't there another one like 500px or something?
Yeah, that still
like
exists.
That was another big one.
Yep.
That still exists.
Still exists.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still there. But I think it's the same issue as just the potential growth for an audience isn't there. But I got to say, for photographers, I don't think the potential growth on Instagram is there unless you want to really dive into the video thing, like the reels, being the Instagram reel creator. I don't know that the growth is there. I mean, certainly photographers have done it that way in the last few years.
Yeah.
But if you just want to share your photography and not have to do the whole song and dance, literally, of doing these reels and that kind of crap, I don't think it's possible on Instagram anymore. I just don't see it as a viable product.
No, it's funny because I saw someone's account the other day. They liked my work, so I went and checked them out. And this individual had like incredible work. Like, when I look back, I'm like, oh, if I would posted this like in the start, like this would have went far. It would have got a lot of attention. 0 comments, 5 views maybe. And I'm looking at these shots and I'm like, I was like liking them, commenting. I'm like, these are amazing images. I'm like, how? And the person had been like on there for like a year or more. And I'm like, wow. And like and I'm like, how do you stay motivated to post? Like, if you're looking, you're like, nobody's even, and I mean, maybe the person is just like, well, this is a place to catalog my work. I don't have a website. So this is just where I'm showing my images. But it's like, I can't, if I had to start from scratch now, I'd be done. Like, if my account like got hacked and I couldn't get anything back and I had to literally start from scratch, I would be done. I would not do it.
I think I'd probably go over to like a Flickr or something and just make it, you know what? I'm going to find like the 20 people I connect with, share high quality photos and just make it about that, right? Like that's, I think, the direction I would go because here, literally, unless you want to do the whole like, you know, woo, I'm a creator kind of thing and fall into that, which, listen, whatever. I know I just said it all stupid. It's just not for me. It's just not, that's not my personality. I'm not going to do it. People can have tons of success here doing that. And that's, you know, good for you.
It just doesn't feel like it's about the photography then. To me, it just feels like you're...
most of the time, I don't think it is. Sometimes I think there's people that have found that balance, but most of the time I don't think it is. It's just about how you can get attention, you know, which is, I mean, listen, that's what this platform's all about. So
it's a business.
I get it. Yeah. All right. So same photographer asks, I am a Sony 200 to 600 millimeter shooter now into the wide angle stuff. I only have the budget for one lens. What lens would that be? I'd say anything 2470, 24 to 105, 24 to 120. That'd be where I'd go. Right there, one of them.
Yep.
I can't think of anything else. Like if it's your one lens, and feel free to get the f4 versions. You know, you don't need the 2.8 versions. Save some money. You know, which we have a question coming up about that.
So when I looked at this question, I mean, certainly not talking you out of it. But I think a lot of people that see a lot of these wide angle shots and these wider scenes automatically like, oh yeah, I can do it. It's like with you with your underwater housing. Yep. Oh yeah, I could definitely, I'd love to do this. They buy all the gear before really thinking about the location they're at, the subjects that they photograph. Like if you're shooting 24 mil, do you have subjects that you can get within a foot, 2 feet?
Yeah.
Like you need to be super close. If not, these birds are super tiny in frame, which you could probably do if they're going to be super, super tiny. You could probably do with your like a bit of a longer lens.
Absolutely.
You know, just move back further or something like that. But if you're wanting like portrait-y wide angle stuff, you have to get extremely close. So I think you really need to think about that.
Yeah.
You know, like Ray said, like even get a lower budget, wider lens first and test that out. Can you actually get close to these subjects as close as you think? You know, I shoot some at 100 with my 100 400. 100 is still got to be close. Like you realize, you're like, geez, this thing got to be
totally,
you know, for a portrait-y style, and it doesn't show the environment as much. But yeah, I think again, certainly not talking you out of it. But I think before any purchase like that, think about your location. And the other thing to me is like, even when I got my one, and again, I know 100 is not wide, but when I got it, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to show off the environment. There's so many places I get, I'm like, this is so boring.
Yeah.
Because a lot of like wider shots, especially when you think you've got a hill in the background, becomes a plateau. Like it's so small, like it just everything shrinks.
Yep.
So you need big, huge mountains, you know, like everything changes when you look at a wider scene. So I think take note for anyone out there is like, do you have big mountains, big, vast, open coastlines? Like, do you have actual pretty landscape you want to show that will show well in a wider scene? Because it's not just I want to shoot a bird wider, like, you know, like you're just going to come away with images like meh. You know, I think you even experienced it when you photographed waterfowl when you were in Alaska one time.
Absolutely.
I can't remember where you went in Alaska.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you were like, I'm in the barrens. What am I showing?
Flat.
Like this
flat
just
and brown forever.
You end up shooting more down on the subject because you didn't even need to show anything horizon wise. So I think it's something worth thinking about.
Totally agree. And I'm just going to jump ahead to another question. We're going to segue because we're in this topic right now. So Mark Knoll asked, for wide angle, 35 millimeter or less bird photography, do you prefer a shallow or wide depth of field? So you want to kick that one off, Brad? Because you had a couple of images that were perfect for that.
Yeah, I had just the two. So actually, I think it was this past year. I actually had that same discussion with Ray and them. Like my wife used to do a lot of portrait work, and So we collected like lenses over the time. So we have like an old 50, 1.8, I think, or 1.4. And I think and she had a 35, 1.8. So I was like, oh, I want to take this out and kind of play around with it and just see what kind of, maybe more dreamy effect.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it really is scene dependent.
Yes.
Whether I would, me personally, I'm not someone who stops down. I rarely do. And I kick myself sometimes, like even I'll do like a tighter portrait shot and I'm like, I should have stopped down to probably F8 or something, get more feather detail. Like the fall off is not as nice, like in a tight portrait. I should have done, but it's just something I don't know what it is, dude. I never think about it. So even with a wider shot, I think incorporating more detail, so stopping down to like F11, 16, something like that, you got to watch. Like even in a scene with the puffins, both of these, so one on the left there's 1.8, super shallow. I still know what's in the background. We see all the foamy detail. I see the rocks. We can tell they're sea stacks. It feels cleaner a bit to me. More like a portrait style. Yes. It's got that clean. The next one is, I think, at F4.
It is.
So I see a little bit more detail. Me personally, if I had to shoot that at F16, I wouldn't like it.
Oh, yeah, that'd be too much.
I think it would bring in all this detail in the water. You'd see all the individual, you know what I mean? Like the waves, the ripples, the rocks themselves would get more crunchy, more detailed. It would draw away from the bird. So again, I think it's very much dependent on what you're trying to show off.
Absolutely.
And if it distracts from your subject.
Absolutely.
Tons of great examples of that.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say the exact same thing, if you just want to shoot wide and still take a portrait, then go with the shallow depth of field, the super shallow depth of field, because that's what you're making it more about. You're making it more about your subject, and then the surroundings are just sort of ancillary, right? Secondary. They're just sort of adding to it. Like this is, 24 millimeter at 1.4. Sure, I can see there's some trees and clouds and open space back there, and it's a fun perspective, but this is not about showing off the habitat, that's not what this is about. It's about making a portrait. And so same thing here, like this one was a shot at F2, but I still get the context back there. It gives a little bit of fall off. The clouds are a little bit softer back there, so my attention comes to the foreground on my subject a little bit more. I think that's fine. So there's times when you can go shallow depth of field and still show off some stuff back there. Another example here, right? This is more of a I know. Shot. It's again, yes, the scenery's there, but this is all about the bird. This is not about the habitat, right? But if you want it to be about the habitat, then show off the habitat. Don't blur it out. Like if the habitat's beautiful back there, I want to see all that, right? I mean, this was still shot at F4, but like I want to see those textures leading back there, I want to see the rocks and the other shapes and everything that are going on in these scenes. These scenes are stunning. If this was all blurred back there or back here, and this was just like a mush of red and hills, it doesn't show me like the rocky texture and the layering in the same way. And listen, I'm not going like super wide open here. I'm super shallow depth of field. I'm still shooting wide open on the lens, but this is where I think having that cheaper sort of it doesn't need to be a really fast wide lens is fine, right? The F4 lens, that's what all these are shot at, F4, right? But like this one, if I blurred that background, I think would be a detriment to it, because it's so ridiculously stunning. That being said, I still think this would work. If I had shot this at f1.4 on something, or we have a 35 f1.2. If I would have shot it like that, you would still get the impression of that back there. But here's the difference. It would be more about the subject. It would be more about my, like, not a portrait, but like my subject is standing out and the background is secondary. This, to me, I want to make them almost equal weight, right? I still want the subject to be the star of the show, but that background is damn important because it's freaking stunning back there too. And so here's another example, right? Like, shallower depth of field when he got really close. The mountains still are back there, so I think it works both ways. I can't say one way or the other. I think The mistake that I see happen too often is like this kind of stuff where you do have some cool scenery and you shoot so close and it's so blurred. It's almost like, well, what the hell's the point of showing off any of it if it's just like such a blurry anything, other than to say like, look how close I got, and maybe you can get a funny perspective with the subject if they get right up in your frame, you know. But then you got to be, you got to be like less than a foot. You're talking like 6-7 inches away to start getting that fun like distortion that you get with something like this, you know, where the bird is so close or whatever subject. So I think that's the only thing I would say to caution people away, because I totally agree with you, Brad. Like the example you shared, which I'm looking for again right now. Where'd it go? Oh, that's the landscape stuff.
Right oh, back. No, it was right after the landscape stuff.
Oh, was it?
It was right after.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks. This example shot at 1.8, I think works perfectly. Yeah, it gives a little bit more depth. Your subject stands out. I still get the context back there. So I see that working nicely. I think this also works nicely, right? So it just depends on your intention. Yeah, such a great question.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, really interesting.
All right, so did I mark that one off? Yes, I did. Next up, we got to start going through these quick, man. We're an hour and 45 in. All right, Jack.
I know.
Any particular photography goals you guys have for spring migration? Jack, I don't have a spring migration, so I don't really have anything. Brad?
For me, it's I think we talked about this on last episode. Explore more. I want to focus on a couple different species that I haven't focused on before, because I'm so focused on, like, you know, warblers and songbirds, but there are other migrating birds that are here that I just haven't spent time. So I think that's my goal this year. And like I said, exploring new spots. So
nice, man.
Yeah, and just maybe shooting a bit wider.
Yeah, for me, it's the same. Exploring this new spot. I've only ever been to the Tetons once before for a couple of days, so now spending almost a month here, it's been really fun. I haven't done much at all with it yet. There hasn't been much I've capitalized on, but it's a fun thing to try, so I agree. Owen Leggio asks, when are you having me back up to Newfoundland?
Never.
Owen,
no.
Anytime you want to come up, bro. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
It was a blast working with Owen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, of one person, I always think of his expression
and best.
His experience the first time we walked out to the Gannet colony.
Love how he did
all the people that he always stood out to me. I don't know, just how much he appreciated, and just the feeling he got is what I always envision when I bring people there. Like it's just such a magical spot. And he just, like, I could see it on his face. He was just like, wow. And he even sat down and was like, I don't want to shoot. I just want to take this in right now. And it was just like,
I love that.
He gets it.
Yep.
Yeah. So Owen, come back. Definitely, man.
Yeah. Do you want to take the next one? I think we're back to John Gillingham.
Yep. What is your go-to lens for wildlife photography that you couldn't live without?
Ooh.
I hate even saying it. I still love my 500.
Yeah,
like, I
for
think
sure. That's for you.
Yeah, because I just think of, like, I don't know, I love light. I love playing with it. I love my urban light stuff. It's you know, it's an f4 lens. I don't have anything else that's on the longer side that has. If I had the 400 2.8, I'd probably pick
that would be it for you. That would be it for you. Yeah.
It would. I think so. But that 1-4, I really appreciate it. Its functionality, its versatility. It's certainly given me some of my favorite images of all time so far. But I think if I had to actually, like, pick the 500,
I think I would actually pick the 28-4 right now.
Really?
I would.
Wow.
Yeah, because, dude, the 1-4 is my most used lens, but I can't shoot anything wide with that. I can't. 100 millimeter is not enough for me. You know that. And listen, it works better for the portraits. It works better for flight. It works better for action. But that's not like my go-to thing lately. And so, like, man, we did this hike the other day with that lens, and I got some beautiful pika portraits, and I shot some landscapes on the way in, and I shot like the moose with the snowy mountains in the background, and I could do anything with it. I can do pretty much anything with it. Maybe it doesn't do. Here's the deal. I can do any style of wildlife photography with that one lens, even though that one lens doesn't do any of them the best.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yep.
But it gives me the creative freedom to try anything from wide angle, like actual wide angle, all the way up to a 400 millimeter portrait, all in one shot. So if I had to pick one lens to go with, well, that's my lens right now, man. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Wow.
Plus, I can carry it anywhere.
Yep. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fit.
All right, we're back to Chathra. Is it you want to read this one? You got this one, or is it me?
I can, yeah. Thoughts about Lightroom versus Photoshop. Don't you think Lightroom lacks some mandatory adjustments? I'll just speak for my own self. I'm a full-on Photoshop guy. Don't use Lightroom. Never got into it. I know it's got probably some advantage, disadvantage.
Well, what would you say Camera Raw versus working in Photoshop? Because that's the same difference.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what do you mean?
Where do you do most of your editing now?
Camera Raw, I guess I do most of it because it's got all the different maskings. I do very little in Photoshop. It's just minor little adjustments that I might feel afterwards. But I find half of the time I go to do it in Photoshop and I'm like, why am I doing that here? I'll just go back into Raw, mask, do a couple things, come back. So it's very minimal that I'll actually do in Photoshop, I guess. So yeah. I guess I'm a Camera Raw guy. I shouldn't even say, I guess, Photoshop anymore.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I think that's I'm interpreting in the difference that way because, like,
I hear. Yeah,
we're talking if we're talking just the image editing stuff, and that's all Photoshop does. You know, like it doesn't have the organization part of it. So yeah, I would be the same way. If I had to pick one, I would probably just do it all in Camera Raw / Lightroom now versus Photoshop. Yeah, but still nice having both. There's things that Photoshop can do and it does better. I just created a whole Photoshop course because of the fact that, like, the selections and the masking is just better there. Is Lightroom good enough most of the time? Yeah, absolutely. That's why I do most of my editing there. But if you want, and I fully believe this, if you want the best quality, the highest end, like, most ability to edit your photo and make it perfect, and you really love editing, Photoshop's it. Like, that's where you're going to get to really dial it in, right? But if you're just looking to, like, get it decent, you're not doing huge edits, and you just want to get your photo looking good out the door, Lightroom / Camera Raw I think is the way to go. All right.
Definitely.
Chatra is asking again, back button autofocus or shutter button autofocus? I've been shutter button autofocus since DSLRs. I've never done back button autofocus, so that's me. How about you, Brad?
Same.
Yep.
Same. And I can't see a reason for back button now
anymore.
With, the 3D tracking, like you can compose now ways. Yeah. So, shutter.
Yep. Maiden's Knight asks, is it all right to use your photos as reference for artworks? I'll answer for me. If it's for personal use, then I'm fine with that, as long as you're not selling it. I always think it's the right thing to do to ask permission anyway for each photo, or ask a photographer. But as soon as you are if you're going to be selling the artwork that you're going to create from that, then I have a price list that I send people. Brad?
Certainly. Yep. Same.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right. Cool.
Yep.
You want to get the next one there? We got Liam again, I think. Yeah, Liam Corcoran.
Yep. Are there major differences in the quality of small and frame photos across camera setups?
I'm not totally sure on that question, but how do you interpret that?
I guess the way I was interpreting, I mean, if you got a higher end camera, you're going to get a bit better quality out of your images. I mean, like we talked about before with the small and frame stuff, you're not pixel peeping your feathers on on your subject or small and frame. Like, the quality's diminishing. Again, you're shooting usually through a lot of stuff. You're not going to get a lot. So I would assume, if you have a lower end, obviously, camera body, and I guess a lower end, I guess what Ray's using, the 28 to 400, which is more of like a kit kind of lens.
On a 24 megapixel camera.
But I mean, if you compare it, if you are pixel peeping and comparing your 28 to like a higher end 24 to 70 shot at 28, and it's a 2.8 lens, you may see a little difference, but I think
have to work hard.
Again, more pixel. Yeah, you're pixel peeping it.
Yeah.
So
my answer would be no.
I don't think there's
no.
Yeah, it's very it's very negligible, especially we're posting on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's ever going to see the difference
when everybody's
there.
viewing it on a phone. Yeah, what does any of this matter? You know?
But again, like, I want to reiterate this because I think a lot of people get this like mistaken in that, like, once you start shooting wider, again, unless it's a portrait with a wider scene, so our bird is still filling like a chunk of the frame, okay, then we're looking at quality. But if you're shooting a wider scene, people, this is about the scene, not the subject. Like, you're not, if you're shooting a wide scene with a smaller bird in frame, and first thing you do is zoom in on the quad, you're looking at it wrong. You're focusing on the wrong thing. This is about the whole scene. You know, you want to make sure it's sharp, but you're not going in there and going, oh, look at all the little feather detail. It's just generally not working that way. So
yeah, no, I agree. Chathoro's back again. I think this is his last question. Thank you for all the questions, dude. Really appreciate it, man.
Yes, appreciate it. Yeah,
photographing bird nests, your takes on the ethical side and your position on that, I think, is what the rest of that one was. I think to me, it's no different than any wildlife photography I do. Don't disturb your subject. You know, I've photographed around that. I just did nesting American dippers, and when a couple of different circumstances, when I first tried to go in really close to start messing around with wider stuff, I could tell that they were pausing more before they were going to feed the young. And so I told myself in those moments, I sat there, I'm like, all right, I'm going to give it like 2-3 more minutes max. And if they don't just go for it, I'm backing out. I'm leaving, right? Because I had already been around them for hours. They didn't care about me being there farther away. They were feeding the young nonstop, acting like we weren't even there, me and my clients sometimes. So I knew there was no disturbance there. But when I tried for like the split level shot that I recently shared, and a couple other wider shots, when I physically got closer, I noticed a change. And then I stayed put a little bit. And then sure enough, dude, they did everything every single time, less than a couple of minutes. Then they paused, bounced around for a little bit, and then just went boop right up and fed the young. I'm like, all right, they're still doing the thing they need to do. Did I change the behavior? Yes, for a moment. Was I okay with that? Yes. Some people might say you should never change any behavior at all. I think that's like an ethical argument that's out there. Well, then the only way to do that is to never go out there, right? So us just walking into the forest, the fields, the mountains, the beach, anywhere, our presence is affecting these birds. So the key to me is minimize your impact, and when you can tell it's disturbing them, whether it's an individual or especially if they're feeding young, because he asked specifically around this, then you got to stop and you got to remove yourself to let them go back and do their thing, right? And so I judged in that moment that couple minute disturbance of that pause before they went up and fed the young was okay, and then I got a really unique shot out of it. But if that didn't happen, 100%, I was out of there. I was backing up, and the shot wasn't going to happen because it's not worth that. Yeah. So that's my take on the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm very much the same thing. I don't generally spend much time. I mean, I know of even locations of like nesting owls. Like even right now, I know there's nesting owls on a couple different spots, and it just doesn't interest me. Like it doesn't, you know, even with my songbird warbler photography, like I time it where I don't work on certain species. Like once I know that they're into that, they're on their nest or they're young or out, like I just totally back off from it. It just doesn't feel right to me. You know, I can't say I've never photographed birds in those scenarios, but in many cases, like I'm always like questioning, like, am I doing something here? Like, would they have done this way? Like, you know, there's always that feeling that you're maybe interrupting a very, very crucial period in their life. So yeah, you know, again, like Ray said, look at the behaviors very closely, make sure you're not disturbing them or changing what they're trying to do, and just limit it as much as possible.
Yeah, totally. Yep. Yeah. All right. I think we already answered this one. This one's from Toby Jones. Toby Jones says, what are your biggest tips for young wildlife photographers? Toby, I think it's pretty much what we said earlier when we talked about like the young or your first self, right? That advice you'd give yourself.
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah. So I should have had these questions lumped together, but I think I'd missed that one.
No, that's good.
Yeah. So, but Toby, 14 years old, going for it. Hell yeah, dude. Keep it up, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Get out there.
Yep.
Keep going.
Yep.
Yep.
Good stuff. All right. You want to grab that next one? We got formerly homeless Matt Sullivan. That's a good one.
This is going here, yeah. Being chased by a bear, which of you escapes? Which of you gets eaten?
Ooh, Brad runs all the time. I think he gets it. Unless I'm on a bike, I think Brad's going to take it.
I haven't. I haven't been running much, man. So you might actually beat me on this one. It's been a slow year for running.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I would not want to be in that scenario. Put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that would not be fun.
I'm hoping I'm not in that scenario. But thanks for the question.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Teddy asks, favorite species to photograph and what draws you to it? Brad?
This is tough. No. Waterfowl for me. There's so many other ones that I absolutely love. Like when I'm in the moment of it, like when we do our seabirds and stuff, there's so much about it I absolutely enjoy. But for me, waterfowl is just, there's something about it. I'm just at peace there. I just love being around the water, and it's just my go-to.
Totally agree. Yeah, for you, yeah, for me, it's the seabirds. Yeah, love the seabird, just the landscape, the ability to experiment.
Yeah.
I love the look of seabirds. And so, yeah, overall, that's what I love about them, is trying to capture the locations they inhabit and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's good stuff. All right, we made it to our last question, and it's a fitting end. We're back to Chathara, and we have the question.
So we did have one more.
Yeah, I did. Forest birds other than warblers. Is it me hallucinating, or do you both of you shoot them rarely? If so, why? So he's saying, like, in the forest, non-warblers, we barely shoot them, and if so, why? But look, come on, dude. Like, there's examples right here. Sparrows.
So I gave a bunch because I was like, so for a while there, I mean, this was my thing. Like, I mean, and I used to even get, not made fun of, but a lot of people would make comments to be like, oh, like Brad will give the sparrows their like limelight kind of thing.
Absolutely.
I love it. And the thing here with Newfoundland, where we're so much further up north, like our migrations feel like different than down south and stuff. So we get our sparrows and stuff kind of trickling in first. So it's like a while before we'll get like our first warblers often. So I really spend time with them, and I absolutely love them. White-throated sparrows are like my favorite. And then like with the flycatchers, hillbilly flycatchers, again, one of my favorite kind of species to kind of work with. Even when Ray came up, I took him out to get this guy. So for me, I'm in the forest, whatever's around, I'm going for. Like Canada
absolutely.
Jays, I had them the other day. And,
did you? Nice.
There was other birds calling, and it was just like, I'm focusing on this, Canada Jay. So, yeah, no, I definitely photograph more. Actually, my warblers, if you were to look back, I probably have fewer warbler shots posted on Instagram than I do sparrows. So
yeah, I could totally see that. I have tanager species that I've photographed in the forest. Let's see, I've certainly done sparrows as well. I guess most of my sparrows recently have been out in like epic locations, right? But I think we could scroll back. Look, I got them in the city, even house sparrow. I photographed them, right? In the forest, stuff like that. I'm trying to think of like what other species I would get around New Jersey. Oh, there was like grosbeak species and things like that, so I would get those in the forest. Yeah, swallows.
Not really.
Most of them aren't in our forest too much, but they got indigo buntings, the grosbeaks, rose-breasted grosbeaks, cardinal. So I'm the same way. It was kind of whatever was out there, but where in my area there was such a diversity of warblers, and they were just stunning. So I would go for them a lot. But I mean, I don't know if I even have a forest keyword if I can just search for forest, but. I would totally photograph other stuff in there. I mean, I'm looking at a lot of warblers right now when I do search that. Yeah, woodpeckers, sure, So it happens. It happens, but yeah, maybe not as much as some others. But yeah, that was a fun question as well. Definitely.
So it was.
So that's it. We did it. We got through all those questions, and it only took us 2 hours. So it's a longer episode, but that was really fun. I've been looking forward to that.
I enjoyed that. Me too.
Yeah. So
thank
you so much.
Definitely nice to kind of mix things up. Yeah.
Totally, man.
Like that.
Yeah,
we'll
definitely.
have to do it again.
Absolutely.
Make it a thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll definitely do this again down the road
or something like that. Or,
and we'll say goodbye quickly so we can end this episode finally.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So next week we'll be back to the regular stuff. We'll just do our catch up and then probably have a topic that will kind of connect in with that. So thanks everybody. See you next week.
Sounds good. Take care, everyone.